This is for anyone who laughed off a cutting remark today. The other person is not the only part of this you need to deal with. Something else can keep spreading long after the conversation ends. We will come back to that near the end. Wow, you finally said something intelligent. For a second, everyone looks at you. The other person is smiling. You smile too, but nothing about it feels funny. A few seconds later, the conversation moves on. You do not. You replay it on the way home. Later that night, you think of a better response. Remarks like this are difficult because they are not open insults. The insult comes wrapped in a smile, and the other person waits to see what you will do with it. They are counting on speed and uncertainty. You have almost no time to decide whether it was serious or whether responding will turn the room against you. If you laugh, it becomes a joke. If you get angry, they can call you too sensitive. If you start explaining yourself, the subject shifts from what they said to how you reacted. That is how the remark escapes examination while you end up defending yourself. So the first thing to recover is not a sharper comeback. It is 1 second in which you can still make a judgment. That second matters for more than protecting yourself in the room. You will see why later. Do not answer immediately. Do not glare. Do not laugh to rescue the mood. Do not create a long, dramatic pause. Just leave the words in the room for 1 second. If the moment becomes uncomfortable, your silence did not create that discomfort. Their remark did. You are not responsible for making an insulting sentence feel harmless. Then ask in a normal voice, "What did you mean by that?" Suppose someone says in a meeting, "That is a good idea," coming from you. You do not need to argue with the whole sentence. Ask, "What do you mean by coming from me?" Pull out the one phrase that carried the insult. Do not explain why you noticed it. Do not tell them what you think they meant. Then stop. You do not have to build the answer for them. Now they have to choose. They can explain what they meant, or they can try to escape. Either way, the responsibility for the sentence stays with the person who said it. What usually comes next is not an explanation. "I was joking. Why are you taking it so seriously?" "Everyone knows what I meant." Each response tries to move the conversation away from the original remark. If you give a long account of why it hurt, they can turn your feelings into the new debate. Bring the focus back to the remark instead. Which part was supposed to be funny? I am asking about what you said. Keep your voice steady. Do not add anger or sarcasm. And when the room goes quiet, do not rush in with, "I know I have my faults, too." That would soften their words, relieve the tension, and place the burden back on you. A sincere piece of advice can survive a request for specifics. Someone offering real feedback can name the behavior and speak with respect. A remark that works only by making someone smaller often falls apart once it has to be explained. But this is not only a communication technique. You were not simply frozen in that moment. During that 1 second, you were trying to manage 4 things at once. Your own hurt, the person who made the remark, the attention of everyone around you, and the pressure to keep the room from becoming uncomfortable. You may not have laughed because you were weak. You may have laughed because you were trying to clean up the entire room by yourself. You were protecting other people from the awkwardness created by someone else's words. That changes the meaning of the question. What did you mean by that? It is not a trick for making the other person uncomfortable. It is a decision to stop doing the cleanup for a discomfort they created. One clumsy remark is not enough to define a person. People misspeak, make poor jokes, and correct themselves. Watch the pattern instead of pretending you can read their intent. Notice whether they clarify, take responsibility, and change their behavior. If the same thing keeps happening, a question is no longer enough. That is when you move to a boundary. I am not continuing this conversation if you speak to me that way. If it continues, I am leaving. A boundary is not an order that forces someone else to change. It tells them what you will do next. If the behavior continues, you end the conversation or leave the room. At work, that may mean recording the date and the exact words. If you feel unsafe, it may mean leaving instead of trying to win the exchange. At this point, it may sound as if the lesson is simply how to protect yourself in the moment, but sometimes a boundary is still needed after the person is gone. You get home and replay the remark again. You ask why they said it. You build a better response. You repeat their words while trying to defeat them. Remembering the moment does not make you the same kind of person, but repeated language can become familiar language. Each replay keeps the same tone, the same assumption, and the same way of looking down on someone active in your mind. You may believe you are studying the moment so you can protect yourself next time, but while you rehearse your reply, you may also rehearse the structure of the insult. If you keep using that structure in your head, it can become easier to reach. Then one day you are tired, or impatient, or watching someone else make a mistake, and a line you never wanted to use is suddenly the first line that comes to mind. A person who was once on the receiving end can begin creating the same atmosphere somewhere else. Rumination does not only replay the pain, it can also rehearse a way of speaking that you never wanted to learn. That is why the boundary is not only between you and the person who made the remark, it is also between their way of speaking and the person you are willing to become. They may explain. They may avoid the question. They may laugh. They may refuse to answer. Every response gives you information. It shows whether they can speak with respect. It shows whether they will take responsibility for what they say. It shows how close you should allow them to remain. You do not need a confession or a perfect apology before you can make that judgment. Before the day ends, check only 3 things. What was actually said? What will you say and do if it happens again? Where will you place your attention so you do not keep practicing those words? That last question is part of the boundary too. Whether the other person admits what they did is outside your control. You can pause for 1 second. You can ask what they meant. You can leave when necessary. And you can refuse to pass the contempt you received to someone else. The next time that 1 second arrives, what will you say and what will you do?